Check, check,
Doing
check.
the hand now.
Nice.
Is that okay? All right, welcome class. Sorry about the usual technical difficulties we always seem to have in here. Did everyone scan their ID at the door to get credit for attendance? Okay, so starting today, we're going to scan IDs. Thank you very much to Christine for doing that, for helping today. So that means you need to make sure you bring your student IDs with you to this class, because there's so many of us, it just takes a long time to have to type in student IDs manually. So we've got those scanners, so make sure you bring your student IDs, okay? If you don't, you won't get credit for being here. Any questions on that? Okay, any questions on anything going on in Canvas that apply to the whole class that I can answer? Yes, Kareem.
Can you give us more information about the trip and how you got up to
Oh, right. So are you guys looking at the announcements that I post on Canvas? Hopefully you're seeing those. There is a student entrepreneurship challenge that is open. The deadline's been extended 1 week. It's not run by Snow College. This is run by the HP Life Foundation and an organization called NACE, the National Association for Community College Entrepreneurship. So if you're interested in entering that competition, go to the announcement that I posted and click on the link to go to their page. It's got the application instructions there. You can win $1,000 and a trip to California for the top teams. Teams are strongly encouraged. Don't try to do it by yourself. Form a team of a couple students. This particular challenge is related to the United Nations Global Sustainability Goals or Development Goals, particularly around quality education. So if you're interested in quality education and you've got an idea and you want to take it to the next level and potentially win some money for it and a trip to California to go pitch it in front of some other people, enter that competition. Does that help? Okay. Real quick, reminder, we've got our launch lunch workshops. Next one is coming up next Tuesday, September 17th. You need to come to one of these workshops if you want to enter our Bootstrap Your Business pitch night, which is going to be 2 days later, which is September 19th. So you got to come on the 17th at lunch, or you have to have come to the one that we had last week to be eligible to pitch on the 19th. There is a form that I've got. I'll just show you real quick, and I'll post the link up on Canvas later today. Oh, where did it go? That's not it. Well, I'll put it up on Canvas, so make sure you watch for that. Any other questions or class housekeeping stuff we need to do? I know some of you have asked about questions on the quizzes. If the reason why I don't have the correct answer pop up is because it's really easy to then say, hey, here's all the correct answers. Go take this quiz. So that's why I don't do that. Not that I don't trust you or love you, but let's be realistic. So if you have questions about a quiz question, just send that to me in a message in Canvas. All right, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today. Matt Wunderli is a good friend of mine, and he is very, very generous today with his time to come down here. His wife just had a baby last week, baby number 3, right? Little Simon, third boy. So if he falls asleep in the middle of the presentation, that's what's going on there. Matt is the founder of a company called VzzR. If you didn't know how to pronounce it, the correct pronunciation is VzzR. Video Bazaar, where they are creating an online place for the highest quality digital content to sell to news creators and other people like that. Matt splits his time between Salt Lake City and London, where he's currently pursuing another degree. This is your 3rd degree, is that right, Matt? So fourth degree. So whew, if anyone has any questions about like college degrees, come talk to Matt afterward. But Matt he's a good friend, and he is just a huge advocate of student entrepreneurship and a strong supporter of all of you and what we're doing here at Snow. So please welcome Matt Wunderli.
Thanks, you guys. That's very generous. Russ is the man. He is the man. The myth and the legend. But who here watches Ellen DeGeneres? Come on, don't be bashful. Everybody should be raising their hands. I know you guys do. Do you know that she's see, like I'm already squeaking. I'm not mature yet. I'm still a teenager. She always takes selfies of her audience. So if you guys wouldn't mind, I'm going to do the same, except notice how I have 3 kids under the age of 5. My screen is super cracked. So I can't use this one. So we're going to have to guess this way, okay? So I'm going to give this to Russ when we're done. And if you look bad, it's my fault. It's the photographer's fault, okay? But do your best not to be too crass in the photo. I'm looking over here. Some of these guys look suspicious to me. So I'm going to take a selfie. I'll try and get the guys over here if you can. But don't hate me if it doesn't work out. 1, 2, 3, cheese, or badgers. Let's see how that turned out. Well, you guys are in luck. I'm the ugliest one in the photo, so there we go. I'll send that to you so we can put that on canvas or something. I like to use those as kind of an opportunity to show that entrepreneurship is more about relationships, right? It's about building relationships. And I'm an academic by training. Russ told you I'm still working on another degree. I have too many to count. And I love school. I love to learn. And I think school is one of the best ways to obviously learn. Naturally, you're here for a reason. But it's also a great way to build relationships, right? And it's also a great way to understand entrepreneurship. Innovation and entrepreneurship. There's a few things that I want to talk to you about today, and a little bit of it is academic, of course. Naturally, you're in school, you need to learn some practicality, you need to learn how to apply the wisdom that you're learning and the knowledge that you're learning in order to become successful, and not only successful, but valuable in the real world, right? It takes a little bit of effort. So these are the companies that I'm currently managing, the first 3. In VzzR, actually, we turned it into a product and renamed our company Publisher Arts. That's as of last week, so no fault to you, I promise. Right, as Publisher Arts, we did this because, and this is something really important to understand, we're not going to get into branding today, we're not going to get into brand positioning today, but it's important to understand that we did that because our name VzzR, VzzR, was too clever of a name for our audience. They didn't know what we did. They had no idea what we were doing. So when Russ said it, you have to pronounce it VzzR, Video Bazaar, that's true, but it was too clever for our audience. And nobody was understanding, what do you do again? Investors were always asking me, so what is this again? And so it didn't really make a lot of sense. So we had to move it into the product category and rename the company Publisher Arts. And now nobody asks what we do. They already know what we do. Or at least understand which vertical we're playing in. The Led Zeppelin, I'm expecting some Led Zeppelin fans to laugh at that because it was really geared towards that. It's just my consulting group. I have a side consulting hustle that I do, and we also resell software. And then 16 by 9. Any film junkies in here? Any media junkies? A little bit? Do you know what 16:9 is? What is it? The abstract ratio. All right. We'll talk. We'll be best friends, okay? We'll be best friends. That is a publication. It's a magazine that we're releasing that has to do with Publisher Arts. So Publisher Arts is now releasing subsets. We're to the point to where we can get to subsets of our business. So really interesting stuff. And then Cambridge Judge Business School, that's where I'm wrapping up my latest master's degree. And I also do a lot of work with them consulting. So feel free, you guys, feel free to, if you need this information afterwards, I'm always happy to talk. Always. I mean, I'll even give you my cell phone and you can text me. I love it. I think, again, entrepreneurship is all about building relationships. Your network will become extremely valuable as you graduate and go forth into your career. So build those networks and take advantage of them, okay? It's all about the reciprocal nature of relationships. I'm happy to give you my cell phone or even email, text, call, use, and abuse this information. I mean it, okay? So if you need it afterwards, we can get into it. Now, I'm breaking my rule here about text-heavy slides. I hate text-heavy slides, but I really like this quote. It's because I said it. Come on, you guys. Come on. I want to get into, we don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm really looking to get into the basics of entrepreneurship and understand why you poor things are actually thinking about innovation. Right? Why is it that you want to get into building your own companies or even intrapreneurship, which is starting new products inside a corporate business, right? Entrepreneurship, intrapreneurship, very similar. So let's get into it. Questions and knowledge equals innovation. I'll just read this to you really quickly. Generally speaking, when we hear the word creative in regards to the creative industry, we think of artistic capabilities. However, to us, or to me anyway, creativity is becoming a commonplace value and skill in every industry as people discover that creativity has broader application than just art. Who here is in finance? A finance person? Who here is in engineering or wants to get in engineering? Anything other than arts? Probably most of you want to raise your hand, right? Because arts is a really small, medicine or manufacturing or industrial, right? Anything other than art. You have creative abilities. Do not underestimate that you have creative capacity and you have creative curiosity, and you need to explore that. We believe, or I believe, that creativity is abstract and isn't readily defined by any discernible confines. It's basically what I just said. This is more of an academic journal writing, so if you don't understand that, we can talk about it. Basically means you can all be creative in any industry, right? Creativity is applicable in all fields. Creativity is progression. Creativity is essential for innovation. And without innovation, a company ceases to compete for relevancy. Creativity requires courage. Courage to do something most others don't have the propensity for or appetite to stomach. We help you map out your creative and innovative future. Now that's really our mantra for Red Zeppelin as my consulting business. That's what we do, right? And I had the video, Russ, that I wanted to show as you texted me earlier this morning. I wanted to show this video, but I lost the link. I couldn't find it on YouTube. There's a YouTube video of a guy at the Sasquatch Music Festival, and he's out there dancing on this green hill all by himself. He looks like a total, I don't want to say idiot, but he does a little bit. He looks like a total whack job out there, just dancing all by himself, a really bad dancer, like me, right? But he just keeps with it. And after 2 or 3 songs, one guy joins him. And after another song, 5 or 6 people join him. And by the end of the concert, he's got about a few hundred people on this grassy knoll at this concert joining in with him dancing. And it's hilarious. But that one guy he defines the essence of entrepreneurship and the essence of innovation. Why do you think that is? Any hands? Why do you think that one individual just going out, putting himself on the line, dancing on that hill, defines the essence of entrepreneurship? Say that again. Don't quit? Okay, I like it. What else? Once he started, everyone else joined in. Why is that important? Who else might think that's important?
You have to stand out from the crowd.
Stand out from the crowd? Okay, we're getting somewhere. I like it.
He kept committed to it too. I mean, he was fully committed to do what he was doing, and even if he was by himself.
Cool, okay. We're really close, you guys. I think we're all hitting on something really important. Go ahead. Try something new, okay?
You look kind of crazy.
Now we're getting closer. Okay, yeah. Did I see a hand here? Okay, yep. Boom. Yeah, I think put all those answers together, and I think we have entrepreneurship. You're willing to take, the key word here is risk, right? We're taking a risk to get out there and not be afraid to fall on your face and look dumb, essentially. Because you're going to fail, right? The epitome definition of entrepreneurship. Does anybody know what it means? It's French, I'll give you that. French root. The etymology is French. Any French speakers in here? No? Pourquoi? I'm just kidding, I don't speak French. Anybody know what entrepreneurship means? Take a guess. Anyone, take a stab in the dark. What does it mean? Define it in English, though, not in French. It means really to undertake risk, right? It means to undertake risk. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're this guy dancing on the hill, and I'll send it to you, Russ. I'll find it so you can share it with everybody. I really want you to see this. It's hilarious. This guy is a terrible dancer, but he's not afraid to look foolish. He's not afraid. And everybody joins him because he just keeps going, right? And he's having a great time. And that's how you build momentum. Be not afraid to be yourself. Be authentic and take risks, because that's entrepreneurship, right? If anything I want you to take away from this, it's really about creativity and risk management. What kind of propensity do you have to take risk as an individual, right? Now, there are two schools of thought. And this is the academic side. We'll get through it really quick because I want to tell you more about my story and how that can be applied into your personal story. So we have cause and effect, right? You guys, any stats-focused people here? Statistics? Any mathematicians? I got one nodding their head. This must be America. We're losing our math skills. Math is great. I hated math growing up, but I had the natural leniency to lean towards math, but I ignored it because I didn't want to deal with it because everyone around me, all my peers hated it. So I thought, oh, well, I hate it too. And I never paid attention to it until I got later in life, and now I regret it. But statistically, I mean, you've got cause and effect. I mean, you know how that works, right? You do something, and then here's the outcome, right? Input, output. In business, in entrepreneurship, it's very similar, right? You have two schools of thought. Now, the corporate thought is causal reasoning. With causal reasoning, you have a given set of means and an already predetermined output. And you use those means to get to that output. Now, think of a chef. Think of a restaurant. You've got a menu. You want a lobster dinner. That chef has the recipe to go make a lobster dinner for you. That's causal reasoning, right? You've already got the given set of means and a predetermined outcome. Entrepreneurship is very much effectual reasoning. Are you guys too young to know who MacGyver is? Anyone know who MacGyver? You guys know MacGyver, right? Okay. Who's MacGyver? Why is he famous? Yeah, it's a TV show. He makes stuff just randomly out of whatever's in front of him, right? So there's a common phrase of I'm going to MacGyver that, because I'm going to take whatever means I have around me and build something awesome, and I'm going to effectuate my way to building my outcome. Now, I don't know what my outcome is because it's not predetermined, but to the extent that I can control my future, I don't need to predict it. That's very important. If you can control your future, you don't need to predict it. That's effectual reasoning, because organically an opportunity will surface as you're starting to build a company or an idea out of the given set of means. Okay, and I'm going to come back to that. That's really important to understand. We'll touch a little bit more on that. Again, I'm breaking my rule, another really long text. I don't want to read it. Who wants to read this? Come on, don't be shy. Go ahead, read that.
Entrepreneurial activity is not formulaic, but rather built on principles. If innovation requires the creation of knowledge, then we must understand the principle that knowledge creation isn't built on answers, but rather built on questions, pushing the proverbial envelope of innovation. There is no casual reasoning to early stage innovation, rather a mindset to the extent that if we can control the future, there is no need to predict it.
Right on. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, he's an artist. He's an abstract artist. Lives in just outside Boston, has his own gallery in Manhattan, and he's quite prominent in his artistic circles. Also a university professor back east, and he taught me something extremely important. Now, I had some really great front row seats to some creative works, some great creative works. My old man, he's a writer, a producer, a director. I grew up behind a film camera on set. Mom was a ballerina from Juilliard. and my grandfather's an artist, right? So I had some really great front row seats to some awesome creative artistic works growing up. And he taught me something really interesting. He said, and this is where I get this, life in general is not built on answers, you guys. Life is very philosophically built on questions, and that's what art is. I took that concept and applied it to entrepreneurship because entrepreneurship is very effectual. It's not built on predetermined answers. It's built on asking the right questions that are relevant to you. Understanding who you are and what archetype you are really helps you start to form the right questions in mind and build with what's around you to a very specific pain point that people need, right? So understanding that asking questions is a really good thing. And I really want you to ask me questions, and when you get to that point in a couple minutes, ask as many questions as you can and be thinking about questions. How does this work? How do I prototype? What's design thinking? What does this mean? Right? And how do I understand my customer? How do I position my brand? These are the things you need to be thinking about constantly, okay? That is how entrepreneurship or how innovation is formed. It's not formulaic. There's no one way to do it, but as you ask the right questions, innovation starts to organically surface. Okay, so now we'll get into, let's see, I think this, yeah. Get into me personally, and I want you to try and draw some parallels between myself and my experiences in building businesses and yours, and how it applies to you, right? First of all, I want you to understand that I have failed more times than I can count. I have failed so many times, right? Failure is just part of it. Failure is something you need to accept. And I think last time at the Lunch and Learn, was that what it's called? The launch? Yeah, the lunch. We talked about, who was there when I was there? Does anyone remember? I don't see any familiar faces. So we talked about two schools of thought, rich versus king. All right, rich means you want to be rich. Who here wants to be rich? I'd expect almost every hand to go up. King is defined as having control of your business, right? It's not, you can't be both in this instance. Who wants to be king? Who wants to control their business? Okay, just as suspected. Almost even. Everybody wants a lot of money. But keep in mind that king can still have a very good lifestyle business, right? If you run Adobe versus the local HVAC company, that local HVAC company or plumber or water purification system, those are fantastic businesses. And those are what America is really built on. SMBs, small to medium-sized business, okay? And you can still do really, really well and create a really great income for yourselves. So there's no right or wrong answer. It really comes down to, again, you thinking about your archetype, how you perceive yourself, and what you want and what your objective is going forward. So with that understanding, I failed a lot of times. Wunder TV, biggest failure of my career. Fell flat on my face, and I am extremely proud now to tell you that I sucked at my job. It was the worst experience I have ever been a part of because I learned from it. And that's the only reason I am not ashamed to tell you that I failed, because I learned some very valuable insight in that failure. I was at NBC. Actually, let me take a step back. My first experience, I told you, my dad's a director, right? And a writer. So I grew up behind a camera. When I was a kid, about 10 years old, I created my first video, my first film. It was called Lego Gaiden. Awesome. I used stop motion with my Legos, sticks of dynamite. Don't ask where I got them. I was only 10, right? I was 10 years old, had some M80s and M100s. I think we got them from Wyoming somewhere. And I used those sticks of dynamite to save the world from imminent destruction of an asteroid about to plummet and hit Earth, right? But to pummel Earth. But my little Lego guys saved the day. They blew up this fake asteroid, and it's that moment I knew viscerally that I wanted to get into film. I wanted to get into the creative arts. Now, as I grew older, the creativity was educated out of me. If you watch Sir Ken Robinson, he has a great TED Talk called, I forget what it's called. There's a TED Talk about him discussing how schools at a young age, we educate creativity out of us. Now, it's funny that I'm saying that because I'm still in school and I'm almost 40, right? I'm approaching 40. But school's not the bad thing, it's about how you apply that learning, right? So as I got older and the one-dimensional thinking that I had early as a young kid, that creativity started to become educated out of me, right? And I got away from that creativity, got more into the business side of things, which I'm really happy now. I'm very happy, and I've had to relearn some creativity. So what I'm telling you is that don't lose that. Don't lose that creativity inside of you. Don't lose that abstract opportunity or that abstract thinking that you have. Don't be afraid to fail. Take risks, right? Take calculated risks. That's probably a better thing to say. Take calculated risks. Don't spend a whole bunch of money like I did and fall flat on your face and lose half your retirement before you're age 35. Try not to do that, okay? Take calculated risks. So anyway, as I grew up, I got into the film industry after my first graduate stint in the UK, came back, moved to Los Angeles, was marketing the London Olympics at NBC Universal. And it's at that moment I started seeing trends with media. Started seeing these trends of, you know, TV is going to go digital. Netflix was just brand new. They were getting out of their delivery service of DVDs to your mail. They were starting to get into the streaming opportunity. Hulu was just launched, and NBC bought Hulu or bought a portion of it. So I was up front and personal with Comcast, NBC, and Hulu, and Netflix. I saw all the trends moving to this way, this world, right? That we all are so familiar with. I started to go back and I conceptualized this idea of, okay, I need to get into the streaming game. I need to get into the TV game. I transferred back to Salt Lake to the KSL. You guys know KSL. They're the NBC affiliate for Utah. I don't know why I moved back to Salt Lake from Los Angeles. It was a cool place, but I think my wife hated LA. It's another story. I kind of regret not staying in LA, but while I was at KSL, I conceptualized my own video streaming opportunity, right? And that was Wunderli. I left KSL on a whim because I didn't want to deal with the bureaucracy of a corporate life and telling me I couldn't start my own business. I was stubborn. I wanted to be that guy on the hill dancing by myself. I wanted to be rich. I wanted to have a unicorn, and I wanted to join this whole video streaming movement, if you will. It's part of a small contingency of media enthusiasts clamoring to the world that we're going to be watching TV on apps. And lo and behold, I feel a little vindicated, right? Because that's what we're doing right now. I can tell you that I was a Nostradamus for media. I'm just kidding, you guys. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. You can laugh. It's okay. Anyway, after a couple of years of trying to get that thing moving, it failed so bad. I raised a couple $100,000 of venture capital money. I started licensing. I went all over the world asking people like the Australian Rugby Union if they would let me license their content in the United States, thinking it's a new market. And they said, great, we want to do that. It's awesome. But it's $30 million. I said, whoa, okay, can't do that. Went to the America's Cup. You guys know the America's Cup, the sailing deal. Happens every few years. Went to San Francisco, the big sailboats with the Oracle on the sail. You guys know what I'm talking about? Okay. Went to those guys and said, I want to license your content. Said $1 million license fee. Said, no, can't do that. So we pivoted again. See, that's another key word, pivot or punt, right? Pivot means you just adapt, effectuate, keep moving to the next best idea and iterate, right? Punting is it's not a good idea, so you kick it off. You leave the idea behind. So we kept pivoting, we kept iterating, we kept changing our business model. Finally nail it down to action sports. By the time we got to action sports, it was, I think 2013. That was the pinnacle of action sports. Nitro Circus was big, Travis Pastrana was massive, I knew him personally. I thought, we can go to these guys. I know Greg Godfrey at Nitro Circus, and he said, we just sold Nitro. I don't serve it anymore. I don't stream it. We lost our license right with MTV, and we just sold Nitro Circus to become its own event. So I sat back thinking, oh man, we just lost this great opportunity. Needless to say, a bunch of other stuff happened, and it fell flat on its face. So I started VzzR. I thought, okay, I need to rethink this. I need to rethink, and why did that not work? We got to the game too late. Everybody and their dog had a streaming channel, and that industry fragmented overnight, splintered. I mean, you notice now there's CuriosityStream, there's Amazon, there's Netflix, there's Hulu. There's 100 bazillion streaming apps out there. Everybody wants to stream something. So what did I do? I thought, well, okay, content's always king, but without relevant distribution, it's rendered useless. So that's where VzzR came from, a video bazaar. Let's create a marketplace that allows content creators or producers to produce their content and then put it into a marketplace and sell it to the masses. That then pivoted again to relevancy. What relevant endpoint actually needs that content? Not just sell it to the masses, but let's make it exclusive to a specific endpoint. That endpoint being publishers. Publishers like magazines, newspapers. New York Times is a potential client of ours. Condé Nast, Wall Street Journal. Those are the endpoints that we started targeting. We got extremely specific, and that was what we call a beachhead. Anyone, any military terminology guys in here? Any former military at all? No? Beachhead, if you think of Normandy or D-Day, that's where they targeted and deliberate France and start the invasion and liberation of Europe. They chose those beaches along Normandy. They called it a beachhead because that's where they pinpointed their attack and then expanded from there. Amazon did not sell everything all at once. What did Amazon start with? Books, right? Amazon started selling books first. That's their beachhead. What did Southwest Airlines start with? Anyone know? Do you know the origin story of Southwest Airlines? They wanted to put buses in Texas out of business. And driving from San Antonio to Houston, that's a long drive. So they decided to start an airline that just went to the state of Texas, and it started expanding from there. And their value chain and their value proposition is low fare airfare. Now their value chain is we're going to compete with Delta and American and United by offering low fare airfare, but we're going to do it to these select smaller cities, right? And so that's how they started competing. We can get into value chain and value prop questions, but that's a whole slew of other things. Anyway, so VzzR focused our beachhead opportunity on newspapers and magazines. And the reason why was because in our market research, we started to see a convergence of media and technology. Up at the horizontal line, the big boys, Disney and Comcast and Fox, they're all buying each other for more content. If you look vertically, Netflix and Amazon, these vertical distributors, these digital distributors are starting to integrate vertically and produce their own content. And what that's doing is pushing out newspapers, pushing out magazines, it's pushing out independent content creators, documentarians. And now those guys that used to have business can no longer keep up with the billion-dollar spend of Netflix. They have hundreds of millions of dollars, but not billions. So our marketplace is focused on them and pairing them together with artificial intelligence and distributing independent content to the New York Times. Short form, digestible content, not full-length movies, but 30 minutes and less, because they need to retain their audience, and video is the new online currency. How many of you like to read for hours and hours at a time? I mean, there's a few of us. I'll raise my hand there too. Okay, we'll nerd out with our literature. I love that. But in all honesty, who likes to sit down with a newspaper for 3 or 4 hours and read? You all do? Everybody here? You falling asleep on me back there, guys? I got a sleeper. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. You're not sleeping. I'm joking. Had a long lunch. So anyway, we decided to focus on that, and that was really our beachhead. And because it was too clever of a name and a brand position, we published it, or we positioned it as Publisher Arts, right? And that's where we are now. And I'm out, as Russ said, back and forth between Salt Lake and London. We launched in the UK, mostly because I finished at Cambridge there, and venture capitalists and a lot of PhD students were like, hey, we like this idea, let's run with it. And it's essentially located globally. It's a big media market. I can get to APAC and North America and EMEA really quite easily. It's sixes between India and New York, so almost, and so it's a really great place to be, and a lot of capital, and there's a lot of incentives in the UK for startups. A lot of early stage startups can raise a lot of good money for cheap. And there's a lot of demitigated risk or mitigated risk for investors in the UK, right? So that's where we are. We've raised 2 rounds of funding. We're launching product. We're looking at partnerships with some guys in Cape Town. So I go to Cape Town now frequently. And I always joke that since I'm always gone, I don't know if my 3rd child is mine, So my wife jokes about it too. It's like, I don't think he is yours either, but I finally got a laugh out of you, man. I finally got it. Now I know your style of humor. Okay. I'm coming at you now. Just kidding, you guys. But anyway, so with that understanding, with that basic framework, how much time we got for questions, Ross? We got a few minutes? Yeah. 120. Okay, that's perfect. That's a perfect amount of questions. So 10 minutes of questions. Seriously, throw it out here. Try and stump me. I'll give you everything I got. I'm completely transparent. So with that basic framework, beachheads, pivots, risk-taking, what else did we talk about? Archetypes. Ask away.
At what point did you give up on the Wunder TV? Like, when did you decide, okay, it's not going anywhere, stop going after it?
I'm a stubborn guy, right? I should have stopped it after month 6. I carried that on for 18 months. And I pivoted 5 or 6 times when I should have punted at pivot 3. Right? And so you need to understand that sometimes your baby's ugly and it's okay to give it up for adoption. Okay, we're not talking about real babies. We're talking about your business idea. Okay, guys? You're going to walk around campus thinking, this guy came to class. He said, our babies are ugly. We should give them up. This is Sparta. If your baby's ugly, you can throw it away. Right? If your business isn't working, don't be afraid to just let it go. Right? There's a lot of emotion attached to business. And it's your idea. I get it. You're experiencing this pain point. You've got a great idea. But you know, if it's not validated by the market, if there's no product market fit, meaning if there's no one willing to buy it or pay for it, kill the baby. Kill the business. Babies are on my mind, man. I had a kid 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Anyway, other questions?
You talked about the importance of creativity. Can you give us some techniques on how to start creativity and apply it to different skill sets?
Yeah, so you're basically looking for ways to enhance your creativity, right? And how to apply that into your personal. Okay. So various fields of study, whether it's more scientific or STEM focused versus artistic, right? This is a fascinating topic that you could have a class on, a whole module for an entire year, not just a semester. And creativity is a fascinating thing to me. I really love creativity, and I love talking about it. And when you think of the origination of an idea, it starts out, and this is as nebulous as I can, and also as granular at the same time as I can get. It starts out in your mind as a dim cloud of thought, right? And over time, with 2 key things, hard work and patience, will that dim cloud of thought start to turn into and crystallize into an actual idea. Now you've got an idea. And the best way to enhance that and to become more creative is to challenge yourself. I mean, listen, my grandfather, the artist, he said, he got asked this question, similar to, he said, what does it take to be a great artist? And he said, damned hard work. And that was it. That's it. It's hard work. It's the same as any other profession. You want to be a great CPA? It's a lot of work. Okay? So creativity is very similar to that. You need to put in the effort. It's not something where we're sitting back like Descartes thinking, je donc, je suis, or whatever, je pense donc je suis, you know? Like, I think, therefore I am, and that came to him just naturally from the divine, thinking, okay, I'm inspired. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes you'll see something around you, and it'll inspire a dim cloud of thought that you need to crystallize yourself into an idea. It takes hard work. And so what I read from, I used to work for Rakuten, the Japanese Amazon. I don't know if you guys know Rakuten, some of you nodding your heads. Big company. And their CEO is fantastic, Hiroshi Mikitani. And he said one thing that always stuck with me, and it was, now I'm forgetting it, you guys. You're going to hold me accountable for this. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Remind me what I was talking about. Gosh, you guys, now I totally spaced it. CEO of Rakuten, and what did he say though? This was it. Duh. Sorry, guys, sorry. He said, I get ideas all the time. We all get ideas, right? I write down my favorite top three ideas every day. I'm always writing down my ideas on a piece of paper, and at the end of each day, I reconcile those ideas, and if it's a worthy cause to push on, then I'll pursue it, and I'll see where it can go. I'll do some research behind it. I'll, if it's maybe an adjacent market to get Rakuten into, or if it's a whole new idea, I'll write that idea down and I'll go pursue it. So it really comes down to how diligent are you guys? Are you taking notebooks with you all the time? I mean, I have Google Notes on my phone. I'm always taking an idea. I try to write down 4 or 5 ideas a day, and I always try and make one good decision every day for my business. It's one good decision, and once I make that one good decision, the rest of my day is much smoother. I can make all the mistakes I want, but one good decision every day, right? But it's a lot of hard work. Great question. Got time for maybe 2 more questions. In the back. Time management, how do I manage all the things I've got to do on school, work, multiple companies, family, right? It's called Adderall. And if you can get a subscription, I'm just kidding. Go talk to your doctors. I am not a doctor. I am not going to say that. So, I'm just kidding. It comes down to priority. Don't solicit that, you guys. I'm just kidding. It comes down to priorities. In fact, Randy Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg's sister, said something like there's 5 things an entrepreneur needs or a person needs, but as an entrepreneur, you can only choose 3 of them. All right, those 5 things are family, work, social, emotional, and something else. I can't remember what the 5th one is. But you can only pick 3 of those. So you have to sacrifice the opportunity cost of 2 other things, right? And for me, I've sacrificed my social life. I'm more of an introvert anyway, believe it or not. So I don't necessarily care to have that many friends. Unless it's you guys. You guys can all be my friends. Please be my friends. I mean, you get the reference, I hope, right? Anyway, so that's what it comes down to. A, priorities, and understanding who you are and what's more important to you. And as that falls in line organically, you'll be able to manage your time appropriately. And that's really the best I can give you, because I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I work until 10 or 11 at night. That sounds like superhuman, but again, that's just a lot of caffeine, Adderall, and I'm kidding, the last part's a joke, I'm not subscribed, but a lot of caffeine, okay? And a lot of priorities. And I don't recommend doing 15 things at once because it's distracting unless you're capable. If you can do one thing really well, do that one thing really well and stick to it until you have to punt or give up on it. If your baby's ugly, right? Then go have another baby. Last question.
You've talked about artificial intelligence. How do you integrate artificial intelligence?
How do I integrate artificial intelligence into my product or platform? Let's be honest, artificial intelligence is actually not intelligent. It's kind of dumb, right? It really is. In its nascent stages, it's actually quite unsophisticated and unintelligent. It takes a lot of data and pools of data and months for it to actually become what it needs to become, intelligent. So without that data, it's not smart. So we're fairly new on our product launch, I mean, and so it's more of a recommendation engine where it's recommending things until it gets enough data behind it to actually be artificially intelligent. And we're competing in a very big, lucrative space, right? And so it comes down to, if I'm competing with Brightcove, they're publicly traded, they're a multi-billion-dollar business, how do I, because our value propositions are very similar, how do I compete? If I'm IKEA, how do I compete with R.C. Willey, Ashley Furniture, and others, right? And one quick example about that value chain, because the value proposition is the same. We give furniture, basically. We sell furniture. The value chain is, I provide a modular furniture. So I don't need to back up a truck to IKEA. I can take my minivan. I don't have a minivan. I will never give in to a minivan. Russ has a minivan. Do you have a minivan? You have a minivan. I'll never give in to a minivan. But I can back my minivan up to IKEA and put my 2 couches and my kitchen table in my minivan. If I go to Ashley Furniture or R.C. Willey, I need a truck to get my couch or have it delivered to me. Right? Those are the differences in the value chain. I can compete on price. I can compete on service. I can compete on supply chain. There's various differences where I can compete with my business with a very similar value proposition, right? And that comes down to your lean canvas model. I'm sure you're getting into that a little bit, and lean models and iterations, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, to answer your question, long and short of it is, we're still working through how to fully integrate AI into our platform. But it's recommendation learning right now. Yeah, good question. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it. And, oh, well, if you don't have my contact info, I'll stay around. There you go, if you want it. That's my Twitter handle.